Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, I came across this post where it's talking about some of these robots, these humanoid robots that they're creating in Shanghai, China, I believe. And we do know a lot of robotics are coming out of China, that artificial intelligence and robotics are here to stay. And I thought to myself, how will we women use our time now that slowly the process for having made robots increases? I've seen videos where they're trying to train these robots to cook, vacuum, you name it. They're doing all kinds of stuff, right? So we can see the trajectory of where it's headed, and eventually they will get pretty good. And I've often pointed out that as a housewife, you'll get cabin fever if you don't do something. And if you have a robot doing all your daily tasks, at first you may be like, this is a help. But at the same time, will you use your time productively to study, to learn? Or will you just doom scroll? Will you just look for trouble? For example, if the robot's cleaning everything, what if you start thinking to smoke weed or to just play games all day? You don't know what can happen, because idle hands are said to be the devil's breeding ground. You start to think weird things, dumb things, naughty things, and you lose track of what's important, and you lose your personal drive. And when it comes to people who have insomnia, like for example, I have insomnia, and I've heard others complain about this. If you don't really get real tired at the end of the day from doing stuff, whether it's thinking, mental stuff, like you're writing a book, or you're writing an essay, or you're reading, whatever it is, if you're not like getting tired in some way, it's hard for you to have the desire to fall asleep and stay asleep. And you're more likely to lay in bed and then be up thinking and thinking and thinking. Time's going by, and then when you finally do fall asleep, it's time to get up. And taking sleeping pills long term is bad for your health. And so if you just sit back and look at how certain conveniences people have, become more lazy. Like, I don't want a dishwasher, I wash things by hand. But remember, there was a time where we didn't even have indoor plumbing, let alone hot water, let alone really good industrialized dish soap. Okay? And there was a lot more diseases. With the advent of the dishwashing machine, you have couples now fighting over who loads it, who unloads it. And I remember I was talking to my mom once, and she was like, oh, I don't have a dishwasher, and like she wanted to me to feel sorry for her. And I was like, yeah, but you can just wash them, and it's not that boring. Put on dishwashing gloves, turn on a podcast, something to listen to, and get it done. And I personally think washing the dishes by hand makes them cleaner than using a dishwasher, and I think you use less water. And I just never really trusted the dishwasher. My grandpa had one, my grandma, but they never used it, and we washed things by hand. I think she wanted to keep it nice in case they wanted to sell their home, which they never did. They're still in the same house. But my grandma was that type of a person, like, keep it nice so we can sell it later. But like when it came to furniture and stuff. But a dishwasher is like, you want to have a nice amenity in the kitchen if you're trying to resell your home. But they just stayed there. The point is that, okay, let me give you another example. You know those automatic coffee maker machines? Like you put something in and then you use it? Well, one day I saw a video where someone discovered mold in the inside of the piping. I went and looked at my machine, I cracked it open, I ruined it, but it did have black mold. Now, I'll just have instant coffee or go to the coffee shop, and when I was a barista, we used to clean. We had a powder that we put in the espresso holder, and then we flush it through the pipes to clean out any type of scum. And there's also the Italian espresso, old-fashioned way where you load the coffee in. It's kind of like geometric shaped, has a black handle, and then you like screw the bottom off. There's also the drip method, where there's like a vase that's like, and it has a very narrow middle. You put the filter there, you put the coffee, then you put the hot water, it drips down. Problem solved, no problemo. Also a French press, I had one of those. Coffee grounds, and then you add the hot water, let it stew for like 10 minutes, and then you put the presser goes down, and then your coffee's there. So I didn't realize, like, yeah, the machine looks cool, but it takes up space. Like, I bought a toaster, and how stupid was that, having this machine, this toaster, and I just have a cast iron skillet now where I want to heat up toast. You see, there is this thing of this bulky product, a toaster, to toast bread, when I can just use a cast iron skillet. And that cast iron skillet can be used for other things, but the toaster can't. You see, so sometimes choosing the robot, choosing the machine or the update away from the rustic example isn't always the best, right? And so, if you're gonna assign so many tasks to the robot, what are you gonna do with that extra time? And I think this is where a lot of mental illness comes in, because I think inside of us women, we used to be weavers, making baskets, making ponchos, making rugs, making hammocks, you name it. We were doing something. If you look at the beadwork the natives used to do on their moccasins and stuff, you're like, wow, you know, we used to actually do stuff with our hands. But if you're just sitting and scrolling and watching others do it, it's not the same. And then people, they get so bored because they're not doing anything productive and feeling accomplished, they choose intoxicants. And the intoxicants lead them to a realm where they feel like something's happening when it's not. The most deadly combo is weed and video games. Because you're in an alternative state, you're gaming, and you're winning in this digital realm that isn't real. Now, if you're a professional gamer and you're making money from that, there's an argument, right? But I'd argue that it's not something tangible, but it does give you that counterfeit dopamine hit, okay? And it's important for us women to use our hands. I know that there's some gold digger feminists who I follow, and they say don't cook, don't clean, just shop, look pretty. And I notice that these women, they often become hoarders. So they develop a shopping addiction, and they have piles of shoes they don't wear. They're not very good with money, even though they have money. Meaning, they don't make investments that last. They just kind of buy and buy and buy, and then it all goes in the trash and ends up in the landfill or the ocean. You know? They're not doing massive amounts of charity work. It's like 10 purses of this, 12 purses of that, the latest fashion for this, and you're like, their sense of purpose doesn't become serving others, but becomes consuming. And then you look at the fashion industry and how those workers are making products for cheap while they're being sold for a high return, so a high capital. And you're like, do you really need to consistently change your wardrobe that much? And you see women that they don't want to sew, they rather just throw it away and get rid of it. It's just fascinating seeing how that is also a way to make people less healthy. Because if you think about it, less healthy mentally, spiritually, and physically, a sedentary lifestyle, people working in an office, kids being drugged with Ritalin to just sit there in the desk for hours a day, 5 times a week. Humans are becoming less and less using their bodies. And if you look at the rich man's disease, it was called gout back in the day. Too much red wine, too much red meat. People's joints. Like if you look at the problems now with people's joints and their lower backs and their posture because of sitting, the neck as well, looking at a laptop, we're developing health problems. So if you think about how people will move even less when a robot is doing all these chores. Then you go and a robot is cooking, a robot's picking the fruits. Then what will humans be doing? Sitting around. And this means getting softer and weaker. You may be thinking, well, maybe what people will just work out. They'll be able to do whatever they want to do. But I want you to realize that the elites, Noval Harari, I always mess up his name, but he's a gay, atheist, ethnic Jew, and he has argued for depopulation and said that we don't need, literally said this, we don't need that many humans on the planet, and that they're useless eaters pretty much. And then you're like thinking to yourself, the people who are pushing AI are also, they're not very friendly to humans. And then if you even look how Elon Musk, he's pushing AI to replace some federal workers. And so you just take a step back and look at how these tech moguls, they're making AI sound like the savior, but they're not offering humans other jobs. And then you see this competition for resources, and you see how there's so many kids right now living in squalor, lack of clean water in so many places. America struggles just to keep clean water. Look it up. Look up water problems by state, and you'll see that America is so busy warmongering, doing proxy wars with Ukraine and Russia, giving is not real trillions at this point, and there's plenty of money to warmonger with Iran, okay? But to give the citizens clean water, no. I've even seen some people trying to train AI to do surgeries, and I'm sure there's going to come a way where things become better because of AI, but you have to watch out. I remember watching the mechanical ways that they do the factory farming slaughter. That seems pretty horrible, actually. It's like this machine where they do it with pigs, and they put them in, it gets shanked, and then it's dunked in hot water, still wriggling alive, and it's hung upside down by its hooves, and then they're disemboweled while they're still wiggling, and you just look at the coldness of it. It's very cold, very scary, like if you were a human. Whereas if you go with a human, it's pet the cow, slice, hold them down, the halal way. It's way more humane, I'd argue. The machines taking over and it becoming industrialized is why there's so many weird vegans now, because they see the mechanical process of the factory farm slaughterhouses and are like, that's crazy. And so I'd argue further that we need to be very cautious. Moreover, in addition, I recall I shared a screenshot of the drone. I believe it was chasing a Ukrainian soldier, and he went like this, like, oh, and bam, it just took him out. Whereas if you look at 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, men had to be face to face with your enemy. Now it's more cowardice. You can be far away, and then if you look at, I believe it's Boston Dynamics, and there's some other weapons manufacturers, they've created those robot dogs and attached weapons to them. And there was a Black Mirror episode as well, one of those electronic dogs chasing you down. Okay? So if you think about how Elon wants to put a Neuralink chip in you, you see how you can be tracked wherever you go, and that you will tire as a biological creature before the battery runs out for some solar powered or whatever robot that chases you down. Now your freedom is totally gone. Okay? If you see how governments oppress the people now, add in some robots to the mix that only do what they're ordered and have no human conscience, no ethical code, and can be hacked into, that's a pretty despotic, dystopian future. And so when I see a robot trying to take over, oh, it'll pour your coffee for you. Like, you're so lazy now you can't pour coffee? How many baristas? They graduate college, they become baristas, they go into debt. Think about that. How many people went to college, they're working at Starbucks, Pete's Coffee, or as a waitress? Okay? It's quite a lot, actually. And you don't need a college degree to work in those positions. It's just that those schools didn't guarantee job placements for the degrees in which they sold, nor did they teach their students how to monetize on the education they were supposed to get, right? And they have to work somewhere, so they choose that job for the flexible hours and whatnot. So if first it's, oh, the robot will make coffee in your house, now you're not going out to buy coffee. The more the robots get in your house, make your coffee, and take over jobs, that's less. Look at the kiosks where it's self-checkout. How many people lost their jobs? I went into CVS not too long ago. There was one cashier and the rest were all those machines. And you're like, wow. When I called to report a malfunction in the laundry machine, it's a bot talking to me. You know, I can't talk to a human being. Okay? And you can also do it through the app. So you're cutting out. And also, even in customer service, you're talking to a chat bot most of the time. Right? I remember HBO app, I was having problems with it. And then it was a damn bot. And I'm like, can I talk to a human being? You know? And it's like, how may I assist you? How may I assist you? And it's like, ugh, this is retarded. So, think about how it's you have to be careful. And I also have seen lots of memes about sex robots, where women are being told to have a male one, and then men are being heavily bombarded with having those robots, and they're trying to make the skin flesh-like, and you just like, women were, oh, we want artificial wombs. I find it to be a very sick future. I don't think we as humans were meant to be that disconnected from our biological selves. I would think we would get to know more about ourselves rather than, oh, I don't want to grow my own kid now. I don't want to nurse my own kid now. You know, grow them like a test tube baby. They're like, what are we becoming? And I'm not trying to sound like a earth hippie, but I think we're meant to be more natural. I don't think we're supposed to be these sort of artificial automatons. It just seems quite weird to me. I think that humans have to really understand that AI is a predator. We have dominated the grizzly bear, the eagles. They don't snatch away our herds anymore. We develop weapons. You know, we've built cages when we go in the ocean so that great white shark can't even get us now. We've done pretty well to survive natural predators. But humans have now created a very powerful artificial predator. And I think we should be wary of how far we let it go. The fact that also, think about bots. There's so many bots that talk to you that you think they're real and they're not. And Instagram's pushing you to talk to bots with their AI influencers. Isn't that weird? How long before you fall in love with an AI influencer and they download it into a sex robot and then you marry it? And then they make that robot be in your house cleaning your stuff. Think about it. Things can get weird real fast. If there's a certain job that is super dangerous for humans, maybe you could argue the robot can do that job. But I think that if you start inviting robots into the home, not only are they going to have the capacity to keep you in your home, be programmed by the government, but they also could be something that makes you more of a sloth, more idle, more lethargic, more docile. And the less you move, the less you do, I think it's really bad for your joints. What is your purpose going to be? It's nothing wrong with cooking and serving and cleaning for your family. You know, every day you do something, you take that away. I hope that people will study, have a nice garden, but how long before they're like, you don't have to do that, just have your robot in your garden? How long before that? You know, think about it. I even saw a robot, they were demonstrating it cleaning a bathroom. And you're like, that's pretty weird. Where are we going, people? Let me know what you think. I would be very curious to see what you say. Please like, comment, subscribe, and join the blog.